What's up, my constellations? Welcome back to a totally new video. Today we are going to be doing a top 10. And what is the top 10, you may be asking? Today we're going to be looking at the top 10 retail stores that we all miss. This video was purely inspired by nostalgia because, you know, we all have those memories with retail stores from when we were growing up. And also, part of the nostalgia for me is the fact that I grew up watching Watch Mojo as a child, and so their influence will definitely be showing. Regardless, let's dive right into it, shall we? At the number 10 spot, we have Party City. The reason I decided to include this at a very low spot in the list is because the closure was pretty recent. When I was growing up, Party City was that store you go to when you need a last minute Halloween costume or last minute party supplies. This store also came in clutch for when I had Spirit Day at school and I needed to buy something that was correlated to my class's colors for the next day. Put a fun little outfit, you know the deal. Party City first went bankrupt due to a lack of sales. A lot of people put the blame on Amazon because of Amazon. You don't have to drive to the store, get the stuff. You could just order it, get it in like 1 or 2 days, which is very unfortunate for employees of the store. Then, from bankruptcy led to its closure, and as of 2026, Party City has closed but remains a small section at most staple locations. That is, if you're lucky. But for the most part, people buy their party supplies or Halloween costumes online. Now let's move on to number 9. At the number 9 spot, we have Payless Shoe Source, simply known as Payless. When I was growing up, Payless was like the secondhand store for shoes. Typically around back to school season, my mom would be like, "Okay, honey, let's go to the mall and buy you some new sneakers for the school year." And I'd be pumped because, I'd want some Vans or some Converse. And then we'd either go to the Vans or Converse store and I'd show her the shoes I'd want. But then she'd look at the price and be like, "How about we come back later and let's take a look at Payless?" So then we went to Payless. And once I was at Payless, to my surprise, they always had Converse and Vans. But never in the colorway that I wanted. And my mom would always convince me. She'd be like, "Oh, it has the same function. It's just in a different color." Which is whatever now, looking back at it. But as an angsty little kid, that did not make me happy. Payless filed for bankruptcy in 2018 due to being in debt with several other corporations. And people were simply not shopping at malls at this point. Payless eventually closed all locations in 2019, but has remained very popular overseas. Now let's head to number 8. Al espacio número 8 tenemos, at the number 8 spot, we have Sprint. Back in the 2010s, Sprint was definitely, like, I would say maybe the part of the top 5 mobile carriers. People were really drawn to their commercials and ads with all the puns saying, since their name is Sprint, obviously they're going to have the fastest service in the nation. Something along those lines is what they would say. Sprint also filed for bankruptcy around 2019, hoping it was only temporary. Turns out they were wrong. Sprint closed during the pandemic and was bought out by T-Mobile. That's all I have for Sprint. Let's take a look at number 7 now. The number 7 spot holds Kmart. Obviously, it wouldn't be a good top 10 video about defunct stores without mentioning Kmart, because it doesn't matter your age or generation, you most likely have some good memories about Kmart. I unfortunately cannot speak for that. I primarily have one, and that was before I gained full conscience, and that was around 2010 when I was like 4 years old. I remember getting this like Spider-Man chair at Kmart, and that's about it. Most of my memories from Kmart come from the Adam Sandler movie Grown Ups 2. And to some, it may look like your typical store, but come on, a grocery store and a department store all in one. You don't really see that often nowadays. Kmart started closing down in 2017, primarily in the US, as sales were dipping and people preferred to shop somewhere else. But Kmart has remained a staple in a few US territories and remains and has one prominent location in the state of Florida, which hopefully I'm able to go and take a look at it and to see what the hype was all about someday. Now let's move on to number 6. At the number 6 spot, we have Circuit City. For those who do not know, Circuit City is your typical electronics store. Picture Best Buy, but with a red exterior. It's pretty much that. Circuit City met their demise during the 2008 recession. Circuit City, like Best Buy, had employees that had an insane amount of knowledge on the technology devices that people would come and look at. Like, you were practically speaking with an expert. But over time, due to the recession, that was getting very expensive to hold. So Circuit City got rid of those employees, and people stopped shopping there because customers believed that they were not a reliable store for electronic needs. So everyone just went ahead to Best Buy. And over time, by the end of 2009, Circuit City closed, and Best Buy has remained successful. Now let's head to number 5. At number 5, we got The Children's Place, a store that provided a whole lot of drip in 3rd grade and throughout all of elementary school, I'll be honest. But I would say primarily for me, when I was in 3rd grade, that's when I really started to appreciate shopping here. You know, I remember this one time, like going into 5th grade, I got this like BVS hat, Batman v Superman hat. Even though I hated the movie, I thought the hat was pretty cool. Regardless of that, the Children's Place was also unfortunately affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and closed around 2020, even though, due to them filing bankruptcy a year prior, they started, closing down some locations. But I would say, in my opinion, COVID-19 really took a toll on them, and now most locations are gone. There is one location close to me, but I would have to put that in air quotes because, like, it's about an hour to 30 minutes away. Granted, I'm not the intended audience, but sometimes my mom still goes there just because it comes in clutch, And this store actually connects to our next store. So let's head to the number 4 spot, shall we? At the number 4 spot, we have Gymboree. Like Children's Place, they saw their demise pretty early on. Gymboree met their demise in 2018 and eventually closed all locations by 2019. I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't really shop here as a kid because I feel like this was probably for like younger kids, because that's what I remember seeing a lot of in the ads. And, simply, yeah, just my mom never took me. So, yeah. I'm going to drop some really elite ball knowledge on you guys. There was this Christmas commercial that aired in 2014 on Cubo, And what makes it so memorable is like they played this like one song, like this really famous Christmas song. I won't hum it or play it because of copyright laws, but I'll leave the link in the description so you guys could check it out and maybe see if you recognize it. That's about it for like memories I have. Gymboree and like Children's Place, like from what I understood, like are now like one company, with Children's Place being the more successful one due to the limited locations that they have. Now let's look at number 3. At the number 3 spot, we have Sears. Sears has a lot of good memories that are very dear to me, I'll be honest. Looking back at it, Sears was like it was like a miniature Kmart in the mall cuz it had electronics, hardware, clothing, just minus the groceries, I would say. I always liked at Sears looking at like all the display TVs because they were like the newest ones. And back at home, I had a very crappy TV, so this was a nice change for sure when I'd go out. Another memory I have is using Sears as either an exit or an entry to the mall. Man, those were the good old days. Am I right, guys? Sears unfortunately met its demise when they filed for bankruptcy in 2018 due to a lack of interest from the public. They later closed all stores before before the middle of 2019. Now, let's head to the number 2 spot. Number 2 has a personal favorite of mine, Radio Shack. I think Radio Shack was the store that really got me into technology when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I remember always begging my parents to take me there, and they just followed along. They never really got it, but, you know, they were still supportive, I guess. LOL. Um, I remember too, like Radio Shack had like those robot pets from like the late 2000s. If you guys know what I'm talking about, I remember maybe that's what I was looking at, but I remember everything was just so cool and quirky about this store because they did feature a lot of old technology. Unfortunately, Radio Shack filed for bankruptcy in 2015 due to a lack of interest and high competitive online retailers, such as Amazon. That eventually led to Radio Shack closing, but can still be found overseas. And now for the number 1 spot. To no one's surprise, Toys R Us is at the number one spot. I'm sure all of us, and I mean all of us, have a great childhood memory here. I know I have countless, and it would make the video longer than it needs to be. So, yeah, I was honestly pretty shocked that Toys R Us filed for bankruptcy in 2017. That day hit pretty hard, I'll be honest. I was like, what? Like, I thought they were like on top of their game. I thought they had no problems. I thought everything was really going according to plan. But no, you know, Amazon once again killed the business. Well, I would say this probably was the first one they killed. And also, this was also during the point where kids just weren't playing with toys anymore and instead were rather they preferred to play with like devices and video games. So Toys R Us really felt irrelevant even though they had that stuff. Another thing I feel like I feel like what really made Toys R Us special is that it wasn't a toy section. It was obviously the whole store. So I don't know why I'm even bringing that up. But to me that's why it was special. Another thing, oh yeah. Then obviously we know in 2018 they shut down but have slowly came back through Macy's. You know, they have like the toy section. They just brand that Toys R Us and call it a day, but it's not the same experience. Maybe I bet the younger generations are finding the same joy I had. I hope they are because to me, this new Toys R Us really sucks. Anyways, that's the list, guys. Overall, what did you guys think? Would you like to see more videos like this? Let me know in the comments. And if I do continue this series, what kind of top 10s would you like to see? Let me know. Goodbye now. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe.